Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey,
How are y'all both doing?
great.
Good. It's a little
Fantastic.
bit hot here. I mean, it looks like it's hot all over the country today, or pretty much all over the country. But man, is it hot in Middle Tennessee?
Yes, sir, it is. And it's very unusual because I'm north of you. I'm actually hotter than you are.
Yeah, I
Did
know.
you know
That's,
that? Isn't it weird? It's really weird. The further north, hotter it is. Unusual.
yeah, well, we're right by the lake, so it's maybe a little bit cooler, a little more humid. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
It's just hot.
It's just hot. There you go. Well, and for those of y'all that may not know, Linda Roydhouse, just want to let you know that Linda is our special guest today. And we have her here because we have a hot topic. So, Carter, what's the topic?
Hot topic for a hot day. We are going to be talking about automation and like the real world implications of what that looks like when you put it into your business and use it to help with communications and some of the back office and front office kind of stuff. So Linda is just eminently qualified to have that conversation with us today. She, just a little background, she was one of our early beta testers um, for one of our first automation tools that we launched called Retention Engine. And we have since retired that. We still have a couple of clients that use it, but we've retired it. We've rebuilt a lot of those tools and those functions in something that does a heck of a lot more than Retention Engine could ever do, and it's a lot more reliable, a lot more solid, and we call it Customer Engine. But Linda was along for the ride through the whole thing, and for me personally, Linda, you gave us so much insight into how a chimney business runs. And then later on, after talking to a lot of other chimney companies, I found out how a chimney business really should run, which is the way that you were doing some things. And I always appreciated the tight ship that you ran, and you and Chuck, and your insights into the way things worked and the way things should work, and your willingness to try new things and work with us to make sure that we got Retention Engine right and that we were automating the right things in the right way. It's a little painful sometimes, I bet, but we're going to get into that story, I'm sure, today. So, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, I just want to make sure because not everybody knows Linda's background. So let me just let you guys know. Linda actually served as president of Clean Sweep Chimney Repair and Maintenance for 20 years. She is married to Chuck Roydhouse. She was the backbone in charge of office and systems management, and she's got a master's degree in administrative science from Johns Hopkins University, which is one of the main reasons she was the perfect person to help us launch. Uh, I want to say customer engine, but retention engine way back in the day because she knew what she wanted and she was great at feedback.
Yes, yeah, constant and good feedback about how things were working, where some of the issues were happening. One of the biggest challenges, and this came out of working with you, was realizing that there are some things that can be automated, but maybe shouldn't be, and like that balance between full automation and things that someone in the office needs to have a little more control over, and we were able to talk through a lot of those things. But so kind of set the stage for us a little bit because you did run a tight ship, and because you ran a tight ship, that meant that you were constantly busy with stuff. So give us a little insight into how things worked, what life was like before we tried to automate things for you.
Well, back in the day when people had paper tickets and postcards and stamps, that was, the top of the line there. So, we did automated by having a system for our customer tickets when we went on site, which was great because they were much more legible for the client to read. We were able to send pictures that were able to tell the story for the client. It wasn't like, they had to take our word for it. They got to see them. And it was just immediate. They got instant gratification, and it was wonderful. As far as what we needed in the office, we had forward scheduling, which was done manually. So we had postcards that were printed. Make sure you had your stamps. You had to handwrite everything. Even though you could do labels for addresses, you still had to take the time to print that. Make sure you don't run out of ink, and that always happens. And then just confirming appointments. Back in the days when you were like covered wagons, you didn't have people that had cell phones. So you would be leaving messages on their home number and the answering machine and hoping that they would listen to that message to confirm their appointment for the next day. Getting reviews, remembering, to ask the customer at the end of the visit, would like to have a review. Staying in front of the client and communicating to them, whether it's a promotion or just general information. Maybe they didn't know we did dryer vent cleaning, because everybody has a dryer. And then thank you cards for people that, worked with us. So there was like all these things that were just time consuming, or time sucks. Sorry, my language.
Oh,
that just would drain on you day in and day out, because you could have 1,000 or more forward scheduling to do for 1 month. And that was very time consuming. So being able to go to an automated system that did that for us was priceless. And then the other little tiny things would allow you to spend more time on either doing things that you kept on putting on the back burner. And then your frustration level was like, I know I'm supposed to be getting this done. I can't get it done. It's just going to have to wait. And it did not make a happy life in the office, because you couldn't get anything done and you just felt like you were on the hamster wheel and just couldn't get off, or have a moment of peace where you could just, regroup, have time to yourself or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so fast forward a little bit, before we came onto the scene, you by that time computers were in your office. I know your son had designed some software to help kind of keep track of customer information and manage customer records and things like that, and I'm sure that had helped you. Was there kind of a punch list of things that you were hoping you might be able to automate when we first started talking?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a lot of the things that were the repetitive tasks that I knew that took up a lot of time, that I knew if we could get it automated, it would be something that I could not forget it, but, keep an eye on it, but that it would give me peace of mind that I know that piece was taken care of and that I could work on something else. Whether, it's spending time talking with a customer that had a little bit more questions or needed a little bit more assistance or something like that, and not feeling like, oh, I've got to go back and do this and this. And, I'm a little bit of a nitnoid. So I would try to make sure that before I left the office every day, everything that I set out to do, I had to have completed. I did not want, my desk had to be blank when I left the office. So it made for some really long nights that, I probably should have been home and I wasn't. So
yeah,
that I was looking for my life back.
yeah. Yeah. Well, throughout the history of your business, it was always you and Chuck. I mean, Chuck was sometimes in the field, I guess, but it was mainly you answering phones. Did you ever have help? Did you guys ever hire any other people in the office to do some of the things those administrative tasks?
I had a couple people that were in the office, and even though we had systems in place, it was still hard to get people to do repetitive tasks correctly. So it was like, you would find mistakes and it was like, and so you're like, well, I won't give you that task. I'll keep it, which really wasn't what I wanted, because why did I have that person there? So, and even though having other people in the office it was better to have them being able to talk to the customers or have them do other things that were either helping us grow the business or improve the business, um, than having them do repetitive tasks. They felt like they were contributing more than just doing something that may be considered a little bit mundane, you know. So it was nice to have put off those things that you could that were very, very important and crucial to the business, but they were left in another expert's hands that didn't take a physical person to have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's interesting about what you just said, and that's a culture issue too, because when somebody is there and they really want to contribute and they feel like everything they're tasked with is kind of below, not below them, and I don't mean that in a way that
Not
it's
important or
mean.
act or
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, especially the younger people today, they want to make an impact. And Renee, thank you for giving Linda a thumbs up because this is really Linda's show today. So if you guys want to give Linda a little love, bring in some hearts and some likes. Yeah, there we go. I like it. Because I mean, she'll bring the goods today now. So that's a great deal. But I did want to point that out because that's a cultural thing too, that you recognize that giving people those tasks was kind of demoralizing in some ways when they wanted to do other things. And what Carter always says is enable people to bring their best, you know, their best and brightest contribution.
Well, and what we found is if we're happy and the employees are happy, then things run so much smoother. Productivity's up, everybody's happy. You look forward to coming into work. You know, it just made it so much, I guess, the environment easier to work with because you had things that were in place. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I've got, 1,500 forward schedulings I've got to do by hand, and I'm not going to be having lunch today, you know. So it was like, oh, I can just put these in, and then the greatest satisfaction was when people would reply to those and had your schedule filled up in advance, and you were like, oh my gosh, I like didn't hardly no work. And this was waiting for me,
That's awesome.
So when we first started with you and we're building the product, we had some ideas of things that we thought we could probably automate well. In conversations with you, we settled on 4 or 5 specific things, like repetitive tasks that were happening, that needed to happen to run the business every day, and that would be good targets for automation. So what we settled on was the appointment reminders and confirmations. So when an appointment got booked, they immediately, we would automate the process of sending out an email or a text. It was really just email back then.
Did you text it?
Yeah, that's right.
But they were
I'm sorry.
They were hit and miss.
Yeah, they were. In the beginning, it was very hit and miss. But yeah, I would tell them when their appointment was, give them instructions for how to prepare for it, and then
what would happen, let them know what to expect, which people liked, and then also letting them know what payment we use. Also setting the stage that, hey, give us a review, so that we would like to have some comments of, the service that they were provided by us.
Yeah. So then we'd send out a reminder email. That email had a link in it that they could click to confirm automatically their appointment, so that it would show up in a column for you on your dashboard that showed that they had confirmed the appointment and they were ready for it. Then after the appointment, we would do the follow-up. That was the second thing that we really would do, is the follow-up after the appointment, asking for the review, asking for feedback, as well as, if they were happy with the service, then giving them an opportunity to potentially refer a customer if they were interested in doing that. What else? Then open estimates. We automated that part.
That was a big thing because, again, getting in touch with clients or customers was hard. People were working. So when you're doing your, day business, they're at their work, and not necessarily, you may not have their work number, or they have time to talk to you. So that was great because we were able to not be in their face, I guess, or bother them, but yet be a nice soft reminder of like, hey, we left you an estimate, do you have, any questions, and following up. And that really helped us because we saw like a 37% increase in closures of sales because people, had time to talk to their, significant other and had time to think about it. And, instead of when you're doing all the other daily things of work, that would be following up would be sort of one of the last things that you would do or have time because you'd had time constraints. So that was a blessing to be able to have that automated piece because looking back, we probably lost a lot of stuff, customers and the contracts because we didn't have the time to follow up.
Well, and you guys had a really high close rate, always did, right there in the field, presenting the estimates to customers. But there's always that percentage or that portion of estimates that don't close on the spot.
And that very well for us having that extra piece to allow that if we didn't close in the field, that, we were able to at least still stay in touch with the client. And, their lives are busy. They probably had all good intentions, but just having that, nice reminder from us to say, we're still here when you're ready. And they answered.
It was multiple reminders. Like you just set the automation to run, and then
right.
it would contact them over a period of time, quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then forward scheduling was another part of it that we wanted to try to automate. And we experimented with a lot of things with you, I remember. We'll talk about that part of it because in the beginning we had one idea. You guys, we tried to like map it to the way that you guys were used to doing it, the old-fashioned way with postcards and things like that. But the way we tried it didn't quite work as well, and so we tried some things, didn't we?
Yeah, the thing that worked the best was once we went to the client and we got a time to schedule them, that I could automatically from the visit that we went to schedule them a year out. So then it was already taken care of. And then also if, I'm in the system, I know that, hey, that appointment's been, potentially forward scheduled. So if they happen to call, which a lot of them would call ahead of their time of their scheduled appointment, that I could take them out. So it wouldn't look like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. We're asking you again, but you have to set up.
Yeah.
I mean, that saves so much time, so much money, decreased frustration for me. And the clients loved it because it was something that they weren't thinking of. And we sort of like trained them that they were looking forward to getting our forward schedule email. And, the only thing that they had to worry about was like we assigned them a day and a time. And they would just say, hey, the morning's not good for me. Afternoon's better. And we would, respond back to them like, okay, you're now in the afternoon. And they loved it because it was something that they didn't have to think about, but we reminded them. And then they knew that they had that checked off their list, that their chimney or their dryer vent was taken care of, and they didn't have to worry about it. And we didn't worry about it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this question, and the reason is because the retention engine, which is what you are on, took so long to set up, and a lot of it was because of all these tests and everything. But now the customer engine's totally different, Carter. So I kind of want y'all to discuss the difference of retention engine time, and you just kind of talk about the time it takes now to get the customer engine up and going.
Well, as you guys said before, we were sort of like the beta testers. So with talking with Carter, we were going through, okay, well, what's feasible? I mean, you can say this is how I want it, but sometimes in technology world, it doesn't really work out that way. So it was coming up with that nice mix of what can we do and what can help me in the office, and we did little things in pieces, as I recall, because I can't recall life without having automation. So you have to forgive me. I've been spoiled. So, having it in pieces, it seemed like it took a longer time because we were, and we were also working the bugs out each time because you didn't want to have it and then something would fail and then you're going back. But I mean, we did have periods where things would, sort of like break and we would just go back and fix it. But, in the long run, it was, we built a better mousetrap and it worked and it did what I wanted it to. So, it was worth the wait and the bumps down the road.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you were very tolerant of the beta testing process and the trial and error kind of stage that we stayed in for a while, and I really do appreciate it. We've gotten with Customer Engine. I mean, I'm going to make it sound like it's super easy when I've got a couple of clients that have been waiting quite a while for their new account to get launched. So, Luke Hurley, if you're listening, I'm on it. We had some problems with because a large part of what makes automation work is integrating with the existing systems, right? We don't want to completely try to replace everything that you've been doing. We just want to come alongside of it and work on top of those systems and tools that you've already been using. And sometimes integrating with those systems can be a little bit of a challenge. And in Lou's case, we've had some of those challenges, but we stay with it and we get it done. So, but with systems that are operating in the cloud now, because that's one of the big benefits of the new Customer Engine is the fact that we can integrate with anything. So especially the cloud-based systems like ServicePal and ServiceTitan and things like that. So integrating those takes probably around 4 or 5 hours once I have everything from the client that we need, and
Wow.
I can deliver it that quickly. So, and because of the work that you were involved in helping us figure out what is a good target for automation and what isn't, we've really solved that problem pretty well. So now there's a lot less trial and error and customization and everything else. We're delivering a product that's very solid now and tested and proven in the field. So you took one for the team.
I'm here. And I lived through it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
one of the other things that I just thought of was like people contacting us through Facebook or Google or whatever. You had to be looking at all the different platforms. And that was one of the things that the retention engine allowed us, that you could see certain things without having to have everything open. So you could tell if somebody, either left a review or if somebody, had something and, wanted to talk to you and had a question. So I was able to see all that without having 9 different programs opened up or platforms opened up. So that was helpful. I had one place to look at everything.
yeah. And that's gotten even better too. So, yeah. Well, so next question, Taylor. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know you said it saved time, but one of the earlier conversations, I don't know if you even remember it with me, that you had talked about that you had no idea how much time that this thing had saved you, that it was good. You knew it was going to save you some kind of time, but you had no idea after everything was like firing on all cylinders, the time that you had. And I think specifically saying, I'm actually going to the house and we're having dinner.
Yeah. I'm having dinner at the normal dinner time that people have instead of 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the freedom that gave you, because that's what time saved really is.
Oh yeah. I mean, the time is priceless. I mean, you can't, I know it sounds, cliche, but it is. I mean, you can't get back those hours that you spend doing certain tasks. And that freed me up to focus on whether it was SOPs or, working on the business instead of in the business, helping it grow or, making it more efficient, somewhere else. And that would have never been able to happen if I didn't have some things taken off my plate with automation. I mean, just the time. I mean, I can't imagine, like I said, life without it. Because I've just gotten so accustomed, like, I can now do this and I can do this. And I mean, I don't have to worry about it. I mean, you can't set it and forget it, but I had more peace of mind that it was being done the way I would have done it. And
Mhm.
I know that it was being taken care of because you and I set it up that way,
Right.
that I knew it was going to, and if there was a glitch, it was a little hiccup and we worked through it, but we got back on track and everything was great. I mean, I just can't express that I had my life back.
Well, and if I remember correctly, because we talked about this too, I mean, Chuck's parents were aging, you had
Mhm.
aging parents, and y'all are now taking care of them at the same time. And so
Right.
you were able to not only have a life, but to be able to do some of those kind of things that had you been under the pressure might have been really difficult.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if, going to doctor's appointments or whatever, with your aging parents, it was like you would come back and you still would have that work that needed to be done. But if I had, because of having the automation, I knew that piece was done. I had some stuff to do, but it was nowhere near the amount of work that I had to do.
Yeah.
And, thank God for that.
No, I mean we had a really long. Of course, most of our conversations were long, so I can't really say it was a short one. But so let's go to the next question because
Yeah.
this is always interesting to me.
The 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 goal of any automation is to replicate what a human being could do in a way that nobody realizes that it's been automated. Right? They feel like they've been contacted by a real person, or that this is not an automation. And we had some bumps and starts and stops with that, and there were times where your customers received a whole bunch of messages that they shouldn't have, and things like that. But I just from people listening to this might be thinking, yeah, that's my fear about automation, is handing over the reins to some dumb machine and not being able to see what it's doing or pissing off my customers. Talk about it from the perspective. I mean, there were times where you had customers that didn't understand what was going on when
Right.
mistakes were made. But talk about what you would do in those situations to kind of, you know, get that. I mean, besides contacting us and saying, "Hey, we got a problem, let's fix it." With your customers, were they eventually understanding, or were they just like, "Absolutely, don't ever contact me again. I'm never working with you ever."
Well, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you're going to expect that, but most people were very, very understanding. I think most people understand that automation is in every business. So they did understand, and I think that most of them understand that, mistakes happened. So it was good. Then you had a few people that were like, there's no way, don't contact me anymore. And it was like, okay, I apologize. I completely understand, you know, is there, it wasn't intentional, but, and that was, I guess the price of doing business. But the automation for the most part, I mean, for 99.9% worked well, but you have a few little glitches, and it happens.
I appreciate your honesty on that. I mean, because you were a guinea pig for us, and um, the challenge of that was making sure that our system was reliable. And over time, it
Right.
became certainly more reliable. And toward the end, it was pretty rock solid. But
Right.
I mean, there were still sometimes when a text message wouldn't be delivered, or we can't
Right.
always control when an email doesn't reach a customer, when it goes into their spam folder and they never see it, and those kinds of things. But you have those problems if you were doing all of those things manually anyway.
Right.
So what we're going for is something that approximates human involvement, and I think we got pretty close to that. But I appreciate your honesty. I mean, it wasn't easy, and anytime you implement a new system, it's going to change the old systems and change the way that you have to do some of the things that you were doing. We wanted to make it as easy as possible, but there were some changes that you had to make too.
So I wanted to ask this question because I get this question every once in a while is, automation sounds great, but it just costs so much money. And I really think it's how you look at it. So, when you look back at that, were the rewards in the money and time that you spent on getting the automation working up? I mean, and the cost of having it in your business, was it worth it?
Absolutely. I mean, it was an investment. It was a big investment, but the return that we got on it, or the payback that we've got, was, kept my sanity as far as having things done, and, being able to have our business work more efficiently and more productive. And the communication with the customers, that's what they really, really loved about us, was our communication. And, being able to, either talk to a live person, or, we contacted them via text or an email. We listened to what their needs were, and I think they respected that, and that's what they love, that, we were able, whether the technicians were talking to them, and, we all had the same clear message, that was in our emails. And I think that's what was the biggest thing for us, that the communication itself was
Mhm.
phenomenal, because it really improved the communication level between our clients and raised our business up more than our competitors.
Yeah. I think we have another client that uses retention engine now. We're going to switch them over soon. That made the statement that the communication alone makes us look like rock stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because so many people have issues with communication. With communication.
Well, and let's not lose sight, though. I mean, communication, yes, absolutely. But what can that communication do to improve the end result? I mean, it makes customers feel better, but does it make you any more money? Well, in the case of following up on open estimates, that improved communication you just said was
Yeah.
like a 37% gain.
Yeah. And that's not even adding the ones that we closed in the home,
Right.
and then also having the customers, giving us a review. They felt more comfortable, and, that they had time to, pick and choose, which platform they wanted to leave it on. It wasn't like, we were hounding them down, like, got to do it now, and that, we were able to get our, reviews to grow, which, when the clients are looking for service, everybody's reading those reviews.
It's gold.
That's right. That's right. So, if you were talking to somebody today considering a move toward automation, what would you tell them?
It's worth the investment. It's scary that you think you're gonna, this is a lot of money to put into this, and is it gonna work for me? It's gonna work. Just the time of the amount of sanity, time that, you can save with office help, as far as getting them to be able to do other tasks that they can be proud of, and empower them with things that they feel like they're a part of the business, and not doing some of the, you know, easier tasks. Um, Helps definitely the work culture. Um, just the time. I mean, you cannot imagine how much time was lost because of doing some of these physical tasks that took a lot of time to do. When you're doing 1,500 postcards for 1 month, and you're doing it by hands,
Mm,
stamp and writing the postcard, and we had them pre-printed, but we would say, oh, this is a dryer vent, this is, you had to, it's not like something, it's like, oh, you stick it in and you let it go. We took the time to make sure that it was individualized for each client, and we were able to replicate that with
yeah,
the,
yeah,
and
that's
so
awesome.
that in itself, and the follow-up emails for estimates, were gold.
Awesome.
Well, I got to say, Linda, again, I, I, I absolutely, my favorite customers, my favorite clients in our business are the ones that we can truly partner with to help them grow and to try new things and to think outside the box. And you guys are at the top of that list. It was such a pleasure being a part of that journey with you and running that business, creating things to help you run that business. And I really do appreciate all of the work that you helped us that's gone into our ability to create a product that's as rock solid as it is. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you guys for allowing us to take part in being the guinea pig of getting that program and that service available, because it really made a difference in our business. You saved my sanity and Chuck's sanity, because he had to listen to me. So that, and that meant the world. And also having that time, getting my life back of, making sure that I can get stuff done and being able to work on the business instead of in the business, and knowing that things were being taken care of the way that I wanted them to be taken care of.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate the fact that you're retired, living the good life now.
Yeah.
But came on anyway. Spent time with us. We really do appreciate that.
You're having tea.
There you go. There you go. Well, guys, just know that Spark Live can now be found as a podcast. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or you can find it on your favorite player. And next week, actually, it says there's going to be Q&A with Carter. I'm going to be traveling and doing some video with Jonathan next week. So Carter is going to be on the hot spot. So bring your questions. Ask him lots of things he doesn't know anything about. He'll figure it out.
Please do that. Yes.
And we'll go from there. We really, really appreciate everybody. Let's see. I'm going to put this up. Customer Engine did not call out sick words. Did not call out sick. 24/7 making you profit. Thank you, Chuck. Thanks for putting that on there. Appreciate that. Renee, thanks again for all your comments. And guys, if you could give us a little bit thumbs up, hearts, that would be great. And we'll see you on the flip side next week. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We love y'all. Thanks again, Linda.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.